Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Today, we would like to talk with everybody two different things. We were kicking around keys to success and pathways to improvement. And then additionally, I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but Remax has made the decision to sunset their Booge platform, and they are going to be going with what's called KV Core as a new CRM website software company. So we'll get into that, but to start it off, we want to talk obviously about the keys to success and pathways to improvement. Poppy and I were talking yesterday about it really starting right at the beginning of the day for us. You know, how we get out of bed and get our mindset into the right train of thinking. And in doing that, you know, a key is having positive affirmations and positive material that you put into your mind right off the bat. You got to have the burning desire, and some days you wake up and that desire is not as intense as other days. So it's a constant game you have to play with your mindset in the positive affirmations and good listening material, whether it's podcasts or an inspirational video on YouTube. I know Uncle Tim likes to watch inspirational stuff too on TikTok, even though I don't support that crazy Chinese app. But anyhow, any way you get it, anything's good as long as it's positive and put you in the right mindset to attack the day and get what you need done accomplished. So, you know, with that being the case, you got to be dedicated to having a system in place, using a database, and you know, doing the skills in a consistent basis every single day, and making the calls, making the handwritten notes out to past clients, centers of influence, and doing those things that you need to do. Poppy, you want to touch on how you stay positive and you know, stay consistent in your daily actions?
Well, yeah, and I want to open this up to everybody because you know, when we share what we do, it may be an idea that another person doesn't have. So please don't hold back with this conversation. This is an open forum today. I get up every morning and I do my exercise, and then I want to get myself going. As I come into work, I write down my affirmations for the day. And I know that with that being said, it gives me a self start. Each one of us are very, very different. And it takes different things to get us to be motivated to do what we need to do with our life. And part of that is within you, you must create some kind of a reason for what you want to do. I don't care what the reason is, whether it's to buy a boat, to buy a plane, to pay off your kid's college debt, whatever it may be, that hot button that you need to motivate yourself to do more than you're doing now. We all need to move out of our comfortable zone and into being goal oriented to make something happen with the rest of your life. A lot of us are looking at retirement. And if so, you know, I know Tim can expand on that because he is doing a lot of investing as I am. And we need to have these kind of conversations. But you cannot do this unless you create an income for yourself that is above the average. And as Remax says, we're above the crowd. And if we're really above the crowd, then we need to create things for ourselves that are going to be better than the other guy. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim and give him the floor to do. Don't look it that way.
Well, you know, we kind of have to look at where we are with the marketplace right now. And it's fairly obvious that things are slowing down a little bit, not tremendously, but a little bit. For instance, recently with some of the people that I've spoken to, we've had less showings, but we're still getting multiple offers, but not as many of them on properties. According to CES numbers, the last 2 weeks have slowed up a little bit in regards to what our normal numbers are. Now, a couple weeks before that, we were a normal week for us would be 25 deals. We were up in the 30s. Now we're in the teens, like 18, 19. So things have slowed up a little bit. So in order to stay positive and stay on this theme, we've got to figure out what we're going to do, each one of us, differently. What are we going to do different today than we did last week so that we can continue to do business? So, you know, and what I mean by that is for instance, I know Kathy's been working hard on an ice cream social to get in front of our past clients and our centers of influence, and she's calling everybody, and that's different than what things that we normally do every day. You know, normally we get up every day, we come to the office, Poppy writes his affirmations, he makes his 30 phone calls to agents and you know, different people to talk to, centers of influences. But what are we going to do different? So, you know, I'm not sure whether or not you guys have thought about things like that. But for instance, Kara, what are you going to do different to motivate yourself and your team to continue to stay positive with the market that we're in?
I do agree. Good morning. I agree that it is like it starts right here, right? And if you don't have it there, everything else is going to stink. So every morning it's very important to stay upbeat. I'm not saying crazy kooky upbeat, but just stay on task. If you surround yourself with a bunch of naysayers or whatever, I mean, I'm telling my group, and I'm really shifting on trying to coach them better. I'm growing myself as a group leader and learning new strategies and delving into everything that I can to help them grow. Because a lot of the agents, all of the agents that I have on my team have not been through anything like this before, a normal, what I call a normal market, right? So, I mean, no one was around in 05, 06, 7, 8, you know, they weren't around. So to them, this is not normal. And yet I say to them, it's our job to get out into the community, to talk to our clients, to talk to our sphere of influence. The sky is not falling. We are becoming a normal market. We are adjusting. If you look at the interest rates back over the last 40 years, what were they? Average, right? 7-8%. Okay. So we are coming into a normal. So I think it starts with us. If we are the experts and we are the leaders in our field, in our industry, shouldn't we know that instead of going around and agreeing with gloom and doom? We're returning to normal. Okay. So the only people that are in my mind, and I didn't even know you were going to call on me for this, but in my mind, I don't mean to go on and on. I don't like to hear the negative. Remove yourself from it. It's returning to normal. So get that in your head first, right? The people that are really minding it right now are only and chattering about it are only the people that were in the market to buy a house over the last 6 months, and their rates were 2.5, and now they're 5.5, right, or 6, and they're saying, once it normals out, guys, all right, it's going to all be okay. I promise. It's always okay, right? And ultimately, I mean, all of our guidance, and I'm going to say this on here, comes from God. So it's like, don't rely on the market. Don't rely on the news. Don't rely on a bunch of rubbish. We're all fine, right? I mean, we're fine, no matter what's thrown at us.
And, you know, I agree. And I like the fact that you brought up the normal market, because again, for what you're saying, the people that have gotten in the business, let's say over the last 5 or 6 years, have experienced not normal low interest rates.
No.
You know, and for those of us that have been in it in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, we were used to higher interest rates. My first mortgage was 11.25%.
Mhm.
you know, and I see Shelley smiling because that probably
Yeah.
you experienced that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, for normal for us, let's say through the 90s was 6 or 7%, you know, and we're still hovering underneath 6%. So things are still good. We just have to qualify these people out and show them what they can afford. It is what it is. It's not going to go down. You
Right,
know,
right.
it might go up a little bit more, but it's not going to go down. And maybe someday it will go down, but you know, people can look at adjustable rate mortgages or aren't, you know, different types of arms for the time being if they want to qualify for a little bit more.
Right. And they can
Um,
refinance down the road.
Yes, correct.
Refinance. Just get in
So-
it now, because if it goes up, then you're going to be bawling that you should have got it a month ago.
So as, for instance, in 1999, my dad and I, we tried something different. In 1999, we hired Mike Ferry. And for 16 years, we paid $1,000 a month to be coached by the Mike Ferry organization. And we would attend 4 seminars a year. So that was something different, like I'm talking about. What are you going to do different to motivate yourself to get in the game and be positive about it? You know, there's Brian Buffini, there's Mike Ferry, there's Tom Ferry, there's all different kinds of people out there to motivate you. There's books, there's tapes, there's Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field. You know, listen to some of those things. If you listen to Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field, the first chapter talks about attitude. Just like my dad and Kara both said, it all starts first thing in the morning. It's your attitude. It's your attitude and what people perceive of you and your attitude. You know, so, you know, is there anybody else that could contribute as to what they might do differently to make some changes, do something different to stay positive in this market? Kong, how about you?
One thing I definitely started doing in the past, I'd say week, is starting to contact some of the buyers that we've been putting off for the past year, who weren't quite serious just yet because of the market conditions where they have to compete. But some of these listings, they're starting to sit a little more. Brooks mentioned that to me this morning, that he noticed some of these listings are sitting a little longer. So there might be an opportunity now where they could get some seller help or are allowed to do a home inspection and stuff like that. The buyers that were nervous of buying a house because they were not allowed to do a home inspection. So I would start reaching out to them, because I guarantee you we all probably have half a dozen to a dozen of those buyers that we've put off. And now it's time for them to maybe buy a house and sell their house. So there's an opportunity there.
Okay, good. Again, back to the what are you going to do differently to make it happen? For instance, is there anybody that would maybe consider keeping track of the amount of calls that they make each day? For instance, if your goal this year is to do 50 deals a year, and you figure out that 30 of them are going to come from past clients and centers of influence, then you need to make 20 phone calls a day in order to achieve your 50 deals. My father is 88 years old and he makes 30 phone calls a day. If you came to our office and walked in his office, he's got a stack of sheets like this that every single day he checks off on his daily check sheet how many people he's talked to each day. And he won't leave the office till he talks to 30 people a day, at least 30 people a day. Some days he talks to 35, 40, 45 people a day. So is that something different that you might consider doing, is keeping track of your numbers? Because, you know, we were all busy for a long period of time and we could skim off the top. Business was just flowing in. Now, all of a sudden, we've got to dig in instead of watching it flow in. We got to dig in and make these calls. So if we start each day by being positive, writing down some affirmations, listening to a 15 or 20-minute video of Darren Hardy or Earl Nightingale, take your daily check sheet out and make some phone calls and keep track of it, and then have somebody hold you accountable. Send them to my dad, send them to me. Prove to us that you're working. And you know what's going to happen? When you put yourself in motion to do those types of things, business will automatically start coming to you. It might not come to you directly from those phone calls you made today, but Donna Fleetwood, who worked with us for years, used to call it farming, planting seeds. And each seed that you plant today out of those 20 or 30 phone calls, at some point in time are going to germinate and they're going to grow, and you're going to get business from those calls. So it's an accumulation effect from that farming of making those phone calls. So I know Dave, you keep track of your numbers and you send us your numbers each week. It helps prick your conscience to know that you're going to send those to us and show us whether or not you're spending 8 or 10 hours a day or not, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yep. So, if you want to have a little bit of accountability, consider doing that and sending us your information. Bobby Stevens, what are you doing right now? Like, I know you've always done a lot of different creative things. You and Sandy both have done calendars each year. You used to send out newsletters. What are you going to do differently to try to communicate more with your past clients?
Well, I guess I'm going to have to take everything I heard here this morning to heart, because I'm not doing a lot of those things, and I keep telling myself I'm going to hang it up and get the hell out of this business. But I still enjoy it, so I've got things I need to do, and I'm probably going to increase the mail a little bit that I've been doing. I did make, believe it or not, 3 phone calls to people that I've worked with in the past yesterday.
So Bobby,
kind of
in 1992 at Jack on Realtor, what time did you used to come to the office?
Oh, I was in by 7:50.
7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And what did you do first each day?
Went to the bathroom.
After you got done going to the bathroom, you used to do what?
I got on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Be honest, because you were there to check messages and inquiries that might have came in on the machine the night before and that kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Check
Right.
the new listings on the sheet.
Right.
What had come on, see if it matched anybody that I was working with at the time.
And when I strolled into the office at 8 a.m. and I was sitting at my desk in the bullpen and watching you, what were you doing up front when you were making your phone calls? You were standing and pacing and holding the cord.
Oh, okay. It
Talking to people.
wasn't nasty, was it?
No, but the point is first thing in the morning, when I sat at my desk, I used to watch Bob Stevens on the phone, and he did it naturally. My dad and I had to pay $1,000 a month to figure out how to do it. Bob did it naturally. He got on the phone and he used to stand there with the cord and pace back and forth. He didn't even sit down. He stood. And he was making those phone calls and talking to people. And he's been a very, very successful realtor for years and years and years. But that's what he did different than everybody else did. He worked it. He got there early. He put his 8 to 10 hours a day and he made his phone calls. He might not have kept track of it, but he naturally did it. He's a natural salesperson. Is there anybody else? How about, I see Stacy's on the phone. Stacy, how about you? What are you planning on doing different to keep the ball rolling down the field right now?
I'll tell you, Bob, I really like that you said something about coming into the office every morning. You know, back in the day, you say you were there at 7 a.m. and I'm kind of a stickler a little bit with my team, just to get to the office first thing in the morning, even if that means their first thing is 9 a.m. after they've dropped their kids off at a camp or whatever. Get to the office, because when you're sitting there in your desk and everyone else is motivated, you naturally and organically become motivated. And now I say that I'm on staycation today, so I'm calling from my house. But the other thing I tell my girls is our clientele that we deal with are not phone call people. Clientele look for communication very differently, but to still make those communications, even if it's a text, even if it's an email, even if it's, I mean, I have people who want to FaceTime me when we talk, and that took me forever to get used to, but we do it, and we do it every single day. Now, we are not up to 30 calls a day, which is where we should be, but right now we're working on consistency. And even when you feel like you have nothing to do, if you create the consistency, you will find the activity to keep you motivated.
Stacy,
Let me
thank you.
jump in there just for 1 second, Stace. Just so you know, the 30 calls a day were derived by the fact that we wanted an income of, or not an income, but doing 200 deals, because we knew our numbers. You don't have to make 30 phone calls a day if your goal is to do $150,000. That's not it's not the number of calls, it's the number of effective calls, and it's what you need to do to reach your goal. You can only do this if you know your numbers, if you know how many phone calls it takes you to get a deal. Tim and I knew when we first started, it took us 106 phone calls to derive at one contract. Once we knew that, we started figuring out, okay, if we want to do $100,000 this year, you know, we got to make 1,000 phone calls. That's the way you do your numbers. It isn't about everybody doing the same thing. It's about tailor making your goals. And if you can start, and let's say you're doing 20 calls a day and you're making 100,000, and if you want to drive that up to 150, if you know that an extra 10 calls a day is going to get you to that number, all of a sudden you can be effective with your business. You see, so many of us view ourselves as salesmen. We're not just salespeople. We are running our own business. In order to do that, each of us must think about what we need to do to be effective. And that effectiveness only comes by knowing what your numbers are, knowing if you make $3,000 on average on every deal that you do, or 5,000, whatever it is. You've got to start from the beginning and know how much it takes for you to make what you want to make. Then you set your contact goal. I'm 30 to 30 calls a day because I want a very large size income. And I know I can get that every year consistently if I do what I need to do. Tim, I know you can jump in here with that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to thank Stacy for those comments, because
Absolutely.
one of the things that she brought up that I think is very important is there are different forms of communication other than just phone calls. Okay. So as she brought up FaceTime messages, you know, there's a certain group of people that like to FaceTime versus talk on the phone. There's a certain age group of people that like to text message versus talk on the phone. There's instant messages through Facebook. there's emails. There are definitely different ways to communicate. The ice cream social that Kathy's doing, face-to-face, in person. So between face-to-face, phone calls, FaceTime, instant messages, text messages, and email, I don't know if there's really any others other than handwritten cards,
There you are. There you are.
which people will open. Those are what we have to do more of and do a little bit differently each day to keep the ball rolling. Then, as my dad mentioned, for instance, when you get the train rolling down the tracks, then you've got to invest in your future, and you've got to start working on wealth building so that you can have some sort of retirement package available to you when it's all over. But I thank everybody for their input on these calls. If when we get back to this handwritten thing, Brian Buffini wants you to send out about 3 cards a day, handwritten cards. 5 times 3 is 15 cards a week going out. And you have a nice conversation with somebody on the phone, follow it up with a handwritten card. They're going to open that card and they're going to read it, and it's important to them. So I think that by Stacy bringing up those other forms of communication, that's really important.
Absolutely. And boy, you hit it right on the nose with the handwritten cards. Today, I received a note from one of my staff, okay, that meant volumes to me. A simple note of thanks. And those, if it means that to me, when you write somebody, it means it to them. So it is very, very effective. Don't lose that touch. If you can just say, hey, thanks, I really appreciate your business. It was so much fun doing and working with you. If I can be of any assistance, please give me a call. I'm there to help you. And
So
boy,
Aaron,
that's effective stuff.
Yep. Aaron, our office manager. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Tim. I'm gonna mark.
It's nice to see you and not just your name.
Oh, thanks. I'm gonna mark down how many times a day you call me. And hand it.
So Aaron, are you going to get something scheduled, like a breakfast or a luncheon, so that we can see everybody's shining face in person here real soon?
I would love to.
I thought you were working on that. Did you have a date set up at all, or?
We were working on several dates over at the country club, and then I don't know, summer happened, but we weren't able to come up with like a date that worked for the country club and us. So I'm gonna check out a couple different places, but yeah, we're gonna get something scheduled.
The new Radisson, or the Elks, if we have to. It's a great venue, a big hall there.
Let's get something scheduled so we can get everybody together and talk at one time. And I'd like to welcome all the new people from the Chambersburg area to the call today. Kara's clapping. Welcome, everybody. As soon as Aaron can get this thing scheduled, we'll introduce you in front of the whole company. But I did want to say welcome. I know I'm going to meet with a few of you guys on Thursday, right at 10. And we'll show you the office and introduce you to the staff and that kind of stuff. So we're excited to see you on Thursday at 10. But Brooks, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up for today?
Just the last little thing about Bouge in this KV core. This is all very new, but it is happening. So just kind of keep that in mind as we enter into the fall and you start doing your business planning for next year. We don't have a whole lot of details on it yet. But if you have a website through Remax, obviously there's going to be some transition and change in that. It sounds from what I'm hearing that this transition is going to take place sometime in 2023. And obviously, as we get more details and more information, we'll keep you guys posted. We're going to have a whole bunch of trainings in education on the software that they provide. Actually, Keith Lapiri in our office, excuse me, already uses KV Core and has a ton of really great things to say about it. It's an established CRM website company, and they have a ton of great technology and offerings that I think are definitely going to be beneficial to all of us. So just keep that in mind.
One last thing before we close off topic, I want to talk to you about a problem that one of our agents had this week. And it's a problem that my father and I had maybe 10 years ago. Was in a contract, it was written all appliances. Okay. So without being specific, what does all appliances mean? Okay. We have to make sure we read these contracts when an offer comes in. And we're real specific as to if we're talking about washer, dryer, refrigerator, stove, microwave, dishwasher, garbage disposal. Does all appliances mean those appliances that were listed in the MLS listing? Is that what it means? Because we just had another fight with another buyer and seller over all appliances. They wanted a brand new washer and dryer that was not listed in the MLS. And their agent felt that all appliances meant they get the washer and dryer. Well, does all appliances mean they get the vacuum cleaner too? Your hair dryer, your coffee pot? I mean, they're appliances too. So where does it start and where does it stop with all appliances? So my suggestion to you, because we were in this and my dad and I ended up at a district justice hearing over all appliances, and it settled out of court. And so did this particular problem with one of our agents, settled with a negotiation. They didn't get the washer and dryer, but they got a little bit of money. But my point is, when you're getting these contracts, if you ever see something that says all appliances, do not accept that contract. You need to cross that out and be specific as to what's staying and what's not staying. Other than that, Brooksy, good job on the topic. We're going to try something
Absolutely.
different this week. We're going to stay positive. We're going to make it a great week. All right.
All right, guys,
Have a
have an
great day.
awesome
All
week.
right. And welcome everybody. We'll see
Yes.
you.
See ya.